Okay, it's time for science at home. Today we're going to talk about if something can float or if it sinks. So what we're going to use is we're going to use a container of water, find some things around our house, and we're going to put them in to see if they float, stay on the top, or sink, go beneath the water. Okay? Some things we need to know about. One is buoyancy. The word buoyancy means it can float. What makes something buoyant is how dense is the material. And when we say dense, that means how tightly compacted, how tight everything is inside of it. It may look really tight to you, but inside, if we got a microscope and we looked really down tight, there's actually space in there. Other things that play into it is how heavy something is or how light something is. So how heavy it is will probably make it, if it's really heavy, it's probably going to sink, but not all the time. And if it's really light, it's probably going to float, but not all the time. Think about if you've ever been to the river. Have you ever seen a giant log or tree floating on top of the river? Those things are huge, they're heavy. But inside, they're not as dense, they're not as tightly compacted as you really think. There's air in there. But over time, those air pockets get filled in with water, and then that tree will sink down to the bottom. Okay? So what I want you to do first is I want you to get ready. The best place to probably do this, outside. It's getting warmer. You guys can go outside and try this. But if you're going to do it inside, you got to make sure that you have a towel. Okay? And even before that, you have to make sure that you have mom and dad's permission. So I asked my wife, she smiled and laughed, so I took that as it's okay to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to spread out a towel. I'm going to get a container of water. I've got this nice plastic container, and it's heavy because I didn't fill it all the way to the top because I don't want it to splash out everywhere. So I've got this container, I've got it up to here with water. So all this down here is water. Then I went around my house and I found some different things. I found a key. What do you think will happen with a key? Will it float or will it sink? That's what I want you to do before you start your experiment. Make a prediction. What do you think it'll do? So for a key, it's pretty small. It's not that heavy. I'm going to put it on the float side. I'm going to say this is float over here. Okay? Then I'll get out, hey, pencil. Well, pencil's made out of wood. I just told you guys that trees float when they first get put in. So I'll put that on the float side. A pen. Well, if a pencil floats and it writes, and a pen writes, it probably floats too. So let's put that over there. Okay, now how about a plastic fork? You know what? I don't have any. Let's go ahead and put him on the sink side. And a metal fork. Well, if the plastic one's going to sink, the metal one's even heavier. I'm going to have to put that one on the sink side too. Okay? Ooh, a squishy. You guys like these squishies? This one doesn't have any smell anymore, but a squishy. Well, that's actually pretty light. Let's put that on the float side. Okay? Ooh, I forgot. A crayon. A crayon feels, for its size, is actually a little bit heavier than a pencil. So let's put that on the sink side. I have a sphere. Looks like my clown nose, but it's not. Sort of like a sponge almost. I'd say that's pretty light. Let's put that on the float side. But then a golf ball. Wow. they're about the same size, and that golf ball's a lot heavier. So I think it's probably pretty tight dacked. Let's put that on the sink side. Last one is I just got a water bottle. Okay, water bottle, really light. It's gonna go on the float side. So now I've made my predictions. What's gonna happen? Is it gonna sink, be buoyant, and float? Or is it gonna be really dense, and heavy, and sink? So now after we make our predictions, we gotta experiment, see what happens. So let's start off with that key. Not that key, I said it was on the float side because it's small and light. What do you think? Let's find out. Ah, it's sunk. Okay, it's metal, and that metal is really dense, really tightly packed. So it's down at the bottom, it's not buoyant. What was next? Next was the pencil. We talked about pencils being made of wood. I told you guys earlier that trees, when they first fall in, usually float. So we said this would float. Well, let's find out. And it does. It's right there up on top. It has buoyancy. It's floating. Bet you if I left that in there for a long, long time, it would sink eventually. Okay, well, pencil's right, and so do pens. So here's my pen. I have it on the float side. Let's get it in there and try it out. Float. And it does. It floats as well. Pretty cool. Now I'm seeing inside that pen there's air space. That air is probably going to help it be buoyant. Keep it up. Well, next up I'm going to go ahead and go with the crayon. The crayon felt a lot heavier for its size compared to the pencil. So I said it was going to sink. I don't know. It writes. Something that writes doesn't mean it's buoyant. Doesn't mean it'll sink. So don't get confused with that just because they do the same thing. Okay, let's try that crayon. Let's see what happens. Ah, it did sink. It's a lot more dense. Okay? Let's try out the plastic fork. I said it's, looks pretty dense, pretty heavy for its size. I said it was going to sink. It's on the sink side. Let's find out. Hey, I got that right. It did sink. Okay, let's try the metal fork. Well, if the plastic fork sank, this one's gotta sink. It's even heavier. Here we go. And it did. Ooh, got a little splash there, gotta be careful. But that's what I got the towel for, so remember to have that towel, boys and girls. Okay, squishy time. Still doesn't smell. Okay, let's find out if squishy sinks or if it floats and has buoyancy. You ready? Yeah, it's floating right there on top. Hey, so far that key's the only one I got wrong. Is it okay to make mistakes with your predictions? Definitely is. That's what science is all about. You've got to experiment and try it out. If you don't, if you just know everything right away, it'd be no fun. Okay, let's go ahead and try these balls. Okay? Here we go, that little clown nose ball I was talking about. It's pretty light. I said it was going to float. And it does. And here's that golf ball. Now, I got to tell you guys a little something. I've played golf and I'm not very good at it. I have to hit it over water sometimes, and most of the time I don't make it over. So I might have had a little bit of a clue on what this is going to happen. Golf balls do not float. They're very dense. That stuff is packed in there so tight, and that's what actually causes them to be able to fly so far after hit by a golf club. Okay? We're down to our last one. Water bottle. Okay? It's empty, there's no water in it. It's got the lid on, it's nice and tight, so it's full of air. What do you think? I said it was going to float. And it does. But I want to try something else. I want to take that water bottle back out. I want to take the top off. And I want to see if it floats now, if it gets some water in it. What do you guys think? Starting to get some water in it. Starting to fill up. Oh, it's starting to slip out of my hands. Where's it going? It's going. Well, there's a little air bubble there. Let's see if we can get that air bubble out. I can't get it all the way under. So what's really cool is if you look at this bottle right now, there's an air pocket in the back of the bottle. It's keeping it and making it buoyant, where the rest of it goes down. Did you guys know that's how ships float? You see those giant ships out on the water carrying all that stuff? They're made of metal. They've got so much stuff packed up. They're so heavy. But at the bottom of the ship, there's giant areas that are left open, and there's air inside those areas. And that's what gives those giant ships out on the ocean buoyancy. So, I want you guys to have fun. I want you guys to experiment. Carter, if you ask Dad, be careful. Maybe you could do this in your pool. If you guys don't have a pool, I got a little, looks like a shoebox, a little plastic shoebox, filled it up with some water. Again, ask Mom and Dad. Ask them to come out there with you. Ask them to make some predictions. Okay? If you're doing it inside, make sure you have a towel in case any water splashes out. If you're outside, probably not as big a problem. Probably at the end, you're going to pick up and do the ice bucket challenge. Okay? Let's have some fun with science at home. Does it sink or will it float? Does it have buoyancy or is it really dense? Talk to you guys later.